Are luxury handbags really better than investments? Or are they just pretty accessories that are draining your wallet and your bank account? If you've been scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, you've probably seen people calling Chanel bags and Birkin bags better investments than the stock market or equating Louis Vuitton to gold. Is there any truth to that, or is that just a marketing hype? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Stephanie. I discuss all things luxury handbags, fashion, and everyday life. If that is something that you'd like to see, then go ahead and please keep watching. Today, we're going to be talking about whether luxury bags actually appreciate in value, hold their value, what brands actually perform best when it comes to reselling and increasing in value, and whether or not buying a handbag can actually be compared to a financial investment. If you have ever thought about buying a luxury handbag for the sole purpose of reselling, then this video is for you. So before we actually even get into luxury handbags, we need to define first what an investment is. Traditionally, an investment is something that you put money into that will eventually generate income or increase in value over time. Examples of these things are stocks, real estate, gold, etc. Handbags, on the other hand, are not generating income, and you're not making dividends off a Chanel handbag. Some of the handbags, however, do appreciate in value, and that is where the term investment comes in. But the real question is, are handbags appreciating enough consistently over time where we can actually call them investments? I'm going to share a little bit about my experience with luxury handbags. I got into luxury handbags right before the pandemic. That was after I graduated college, and obviously I had a lot of disposable income, and I had always wanted, Louis Vuitton monogram canvas pieces. I thought they were iconic and classy, and at the time, right before the pandemic happened, there was an increase I saw on Fashion File and other retailers that we'll get into later upselling Louis Vuitton items. And so naturally I was like, man, like I spent, $1,000 on this handbag, and now it's selling on Fashion File for $1,500. So for example, if you know anything about handbags, I bought my mini pochette. I think it was for like $400, which now I don't even think it goes for that. I can go ahead and add what it goes for here. It was before the economical times that we are in now. And I would watch a lot of YouTube videos at the time about how people were saying that, oh, this is an investment, this is an investment, this is an investment. If I sell it, I'm going to get so much for it, and this is worth it. It holds its value. And I naively bought into that. I was new to luxury handbags. I didn't really know much about them, but people were saying that they were investments. And I just kind of went with it. I was like, oh yeah, like I'm buying this handbag, and it's okay because, over time, like they're going to be investment items. It's not a big deal. And really, that is not necessarily true. Let's go ahead and get into the resale market. The resale market has exploded over the last 10 years. Places like The RealReal, Fashion File, Vestiaire, those places have exploded with inventory of pre-loved handbags that you can purchase. So it's very easy for anyone to go ahead and purchase a luxury handbag item, etc. But here's the reality, and here's what I have learned from my personal experience with buying luxury handbags. Not all handbags are created equal. The luxury handbags don't really do well with resale value or retaining their value at all. The reality is most handbags lose value just like a new car as soon as you walk out the door with them. As soon as you drive off of the lot with that car, it loses its value. Same for a handbag. As soon as they pack it up for you and you walk out that store, it loses its value. So there's that. So the reality is not all handbags are created equal. And just like a car depreciates in value, a handbag, as soon as they package it up for you nicely in that bow and you step foot out the boutique, most likely it will depreciate in some value. So the strongest example of this would be Hermes, like the Birkins and the Kellys. You can't just go into an Hermes store and say, hey, I want to buy a Birkin, or hey, I want to buy a Kelly. They actually have to offer you those handbags. So what does that do? It increases and drives up resale value because they are so exclusive and they're so hard to get. You could see some of these bags selling for double or triple what they pay for depending on the style, the color, the season that it's in. Another bag that has done really well is the Chanel Classic Flap. The rising prices that they keep putting on these bags. In some cases, the older bags are worth more than the originals. As you guys know, they have price hikes every single year. And so that helps to retain its resale value because they're becoming more and more expensive, and not everyone can afford to purchase these bags. And the third would be the Louis Vuitton monogram canvas, which, as you guys know, I absolutely love. I have a dear place in my heart for monogram canvas. The Neverfull and the Speedy don't usually climb up significantly in prices, right? Like they're pretty consistent with their price hikes, but they hold their value consistently with time. And I think that has to do with the popularity and the durability. I know that some people say like the Neverfull is overrated, but you consistently see that bag out anywhere you go. And because of that, along with the Speedy, I feel like those particular bags consistently hold their resale value because of how popular they are. Some bags that don't hold their resale value would be like the Celine, the Balenciaga, Gucci. I love Gucci, you guys, but their resale value is just not up to where some of these other designers are. I don't really know why that is, but they just don't, unfortunately. So if they aren't necessarily investment pieces, why do these prices keep rising every single year? I would say one significant contributor to that is the brand strategy. So for example, luxury houses like Chanel and Hermes are consistently raising their prices every single year, sometimes dramatically. Like I mentioned, Chanel has literally doubled the price of their classic flap in the last decade alone, which is crazy. So if you bought one years ago and now it's double the price, you're like, man, like this bag has really paid off. I have an investment. But is it really an investment, or is it just brand inflation? Like they're just kind of playing tricks on us and they're increasing the price and it's giving that illusion that it's an investment, but really it's just the brand inflating its prices. So this creates the illusion of an investment, but really what you have to factor in is the wear and tear, right? Like most people are using their handbags, they're not staying in pristine condition. Some people do care for them really, really well, and so they treat them, great and they look good. But you have to think about the wear and tear that's associated with wearing your bag. That's going to decrease the value of the bag. Also, if you're wanting to sell your bag, where are you going to sell it to? I have never sold a handbag because honestly, I'm a little bit scared of doing that. And there's no reason for me to sell any of my bags anyway, because I still use every single bag that I have. But for example, I've heard of people getting like scammed or conned on eBay. I've heard people trying to sell through Poshmark and Mercari. And then, it'll be an authentic bag. And then the buyer will say, oh, I was scammed. And then you're out of the money. And so you are really playing a risk whenever you're trying to sell these bags out on, these third-party websites, apps. Now, to talk about Fashion File, you can sell it through there. And I think if I were to sell a bag, ultimately, I would have to sell through Fashion File just because I would not want a headache. But they don't take what you paid for the bag. They're going to try to offer you as low as possible. In return, you're getting the money secured. So they're not getting scammed and they'll handle the rest. But then they upsell it, 10, 15, 20% of what they're actually giving you because they have to make a profit. So you also have to factor in that if you're going to use like a RealReal or Fashion File, you're not going to get what you paid for. You're going to get much lower because they also have to make a sell at the end of the day. Now, this is important to me because I feel like we need some awareness on this. Let's talk about why bags are even called investments. Now, I feel like this is something very important to talk about. What are the risks of calling these handbags investments? I feel like even over the last 5 years, especially with social media, trends change so fast. Like I remember when the Bottega bag was super in, like everyone had that bag. I wanted that bag. And now I just don't feel like I see that bag as often. You still see it, but it's just not as often. I think that bag was about $2,000, $3,000. I could be wrong, but that's an example of a popular, trendy luxury bag that went through its hype phase and slowly kind of came down. So with the trends, that's where the resale value kind of dwindles a little bit. Like for example, the Gucci Soho Disco bags. Those bags were super popular back in the day, and now they sell for significantly less what their original price was. Like I mentioned earlier, scratches, stains, stitching, that can all contribute to losing value in the handbag that you are purchasing. So can't really call it an investment if you're losing value on scratches, stains, and just plain wear and tear. And unlike stocks, you can't just sell a handbag tomorrow. You might be able to, but what if you can't sell that handbag? You have to find a buyer that would want it, and you make sure that you're getting it for the price that you want. So that also has something to do with it too, right? Like you can't just go and sell your handbag tomorrow and get the cash. So while some bags do go up in value, that's not to say that that's the same for all handbags. So when does it actually make sense to consider luxury handbags as investments? And here is my personal take. Luxury handbags are not investments in the traditional sense that you would think of, right? They're luxury goods that sometimes hold their value, and even less, sometimes they appreciate in value. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't factor resale when making your decision. If you're torn between two handbags and you're not sure which one to get, if one has a better resale value than the other, and you know that this is just something that you kind of want for the short term, not long term, it probably would make sense to go with the purse that's going to sell better when you're wanting to get rid of it, as opposed to a purse that wouldn't. Now, if there's something that you absolutely love and it doesn't matter what the resale value is, definitely go for that, especially if it brings you joy. But that is just something to consider when you're making your purchases. So to wrap this up, are luxury handbags investments? Not in the traditional sense. Not really. But if there is a handbag that you love and you want to spend the money on it and you do enjoy it, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't get it, right? Like life is too short. You shouldn't buy a handbag for the investment. I was naive and I was like, oh, I'll be able to sell all of these. That's fine. I haven't because I don't really feel the need to. But if that's your thought process on it, I really would not do that. I think you would fare better putting your money into like the stock market or into something else that can really retain its value and ultimately increase in value because that's the point of an investment. If you're still wanting to buy luxury handbags or you're new to luxury and you are not sure if this is something that you would like long term or a bag that you would want to wear forever, I would stick with the Louis Vuitton monogram canvas. I feel like those sell pretty well. Or if you can get your hands on a Birkin or a Kelly or a classic flat, by all means, those will definitely hold their value and those are very safe bets. But if not, I would just buy what you want to wear, and buy what you enjoy. But just know that you probably won't get close to 75% of what the price that you paid for. So that concludes my video on investments and luxury handbags because I feel like some people say that they are, some people say that they aren't. This is my personal opinion. If you feel otherwise, please drop a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are. And like I mentioned, if you are getting into luxury and you don't have a big collection and you're not sure if this is something that you're going to like long term, stick with the Louis Vuitton monogram canvas and the other items because those definitely hold their resale value. As always, I do want to thank you guys for watching. If you did like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, drop a comment down below, or please consider subscribing. As always, I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye-bye.